See, the perspective is different. When you are working for a corporate world, the primary motive is profit. The way all organization structure or entire organization for everything, it's aligned towards is making profit. And you are somewhere a small cog in the wheel, which is supposed to do your job to ensure that the company is making, whether you're part of sales and marketing or setting up processes or doing HR job or whatever you want to call it. Here, I think this is more purpose driven, wherein government of India, which is typically the future looking sort of an organization for the country, is trying to build something to change the DNA of the country itself. When we are talking about translating research, it's not a finite kind of a job. It requires a lot of innovation, a lot of adaptation, a lot of initiatives to be taken to ensure that the culture changes. Because the gap I mentioned about the kind of ranking that we have in terms of research papers and publications, and the kind of ranking that we have in terms of translation, it requires a cultural change. People need to start looking at research not only from the point of view of having something achieved or a new technology being developed or a new use case being tested with that technology, but to see that that technology sees light of the day in the market too.
Hello, viewers. Welcome back to Zinc Podcast, zooming in youth networking and careers. So, in today's episode, I'm talking to a young and dynamic leader, Ashutosh Dutt Sharma. He is CEO of IHFC. It is a technology innovation hub of IIT Delhi. So, Ashu has been entrusted with the mandate of defining and creating the ecosystem for collaborative robotics and aligning with the vision and mission of Ministry of Science and Technology in India. So it's been a really great episode, and I would definitely recommend all the youngsters, especially the kids coming out of schools, colleges, who have joined their jobs and are looking forward in field of technology. So Ashu talks a lot about in this episode how IHSFC is playing a vital role in bringing the technology in terms of research and development, startups, and other support which is required to take India to the next level. So do watch this episode fully and definitely subscribe to Zinc Podcast. Thank you. Hi Ashutosh, welcome to Zinc Podcast. It's a great pleasure to have you as a guest for the Zinc Podcast. So Ashu, it's about Zinc Podcast. I have started this series for the tier 2, tier 3 students mainly, the ones who are coming from the smaller towns and villages. Yeah, I used to go to a lot of schools and colleges, universities, and I found that the infrastructure is quite demanding. We are lacking a lot of infrastructure requirement, and when we talk to the students over there, we see a lot of aspiration, and they always come back कि what better we can do, and that made me to think about कि what I can contribute, मैं क्या कर सकता हूँ उस तरफ. तो काफ़ी सालों से मैं सोच रहा था, and now since the podcast is part of the mainstream, so I thought, okay, let me reach out to senior leaders like you and try to understand and be the bridge to convey the knowledge and share with them. So ऐसा करते करते I started this Zinc podcast in month of I believe it was November or December last year. So since then I've recorded 6 or 7 sessions. So in the month of June you are here, and we're looking forward to hear from you.
Thank you so much, Sandeep. I think first of all, I must congratulate you for this wonderful initiative. I think this is something that our country needs. So, I must congratulate and thank you for this initiative rather. And I'm sure a lot of students are benefiting from these podcasts. I would be happy to contribute whatever I can as a part of this.
Thank you, Ashutosh. So Ashutosh, you are leading the IHFC as a CEO. So please share what is this all about? क्या है? How the people, especially the young ones who are coming from the smaller towns and cities, they should look at it.
So IHFC is a technology innovation hub set up by Government of India as a part of National Mission on Interdisciplinary Cyber Physical Systems. So this is called NMICPS in short, and this mission is run by Department of Science and Technology. So they set up 25 such hubs in the country, and we have been set up at IIT Delhi.
Mm.
So, as a part of this initiative, or rather the mission, the government feels that there should be a lot of translational oriented research. So, I don't know if you are aware of the fact, but India ranks amongst top 5 countries in the world consistently in terms of number of papers, number of publications, number of research is happening. But when it comes to translation, uh, we don't rank even amongst top 30.
Oh.
So that was the concept with which this mission was set up. That can we create a mission wherein uh, the research which is happening amongst multiple institutes in the
Mhm.
country, that can be translated into something meaningful for the society.
Mhm.
And with this thought in mind, this these 25 hubs were set up, and all of us are given a technology domain to work in. For example, we work in the domain of collaborative robotics, and which includes focusing on technologies like AI, robotics, machine learning, IoT, something that can make machine and human work together,
Mm.
and hence the name IHFC, which stands for iHub Foundation for Cobotics,
Okay.
and it has a very special sort of a connotation, this nomenclature.
Mm. Mm.
So iHub because it's an innovation hub,
Innovation hub.
foundation because we have been set up as a not-for-profit organization. I'll come to that, and cobotics because it's a technology domain that we have been assigned. So that's how this name came into picture. I was talking about foundation. We have been set up as a Section 8 company. So if you go to Ministry of Corporate Affairs website, you will figure out that there are various type of organizations, and Section 8 company is a not-for-profit organization. It does not mean that we cannot make profit,
Mhm.
but what it means is that the profit will not go back to the shareholders of the organization. So it will be reinvested for the purpose
Mm.
this organization has been set up. So that's the beauty of it. But I think the more important thing that being a Section 8, we typically, I would call it enjoy, is a lot more freedom as compared to a government vehicle.
Mm.
So I think that was another thought, wherein to translate this research, it's a hard work. It requires a lot of investment, a lot of time. They felt that there's a lot of independence that needs to be given to these organizations who can enable this, and hence we have been set up as a not-for-profit company.
Wonderful. Really good to hear that India is making good progress in the sector. So, Ashutosh, this is quite an interesting topic. Before moving in that direction in detail, I would like to understand, of course, our viewers would like to understand your career journey. You have vast experience. You have been there in the corporate world for 20-25 years now. Right? You have worked with Samsung, Airtels of the world. So, आप share कीजिए how and from where you started. What were your aspirations? Did you start from tier 1 city or you were a product of tier 2, tier 3 as well?
So, to be very frank, what I'm doing right now
Hmm.
is not something that I did for the first couple of decades in my career. So that's one. But when you talk about the career choices,
Hmm.
I must say कि ना लाइफ पहले बहुत आसान होती थी. तो जब आप क्लास 10 में आते थे तो देखा जाता था कि साइंस लेगा बच्चा
Hmm.
कि आर्ट्स लेगा.
Hmm.
कॉमर्स बहुत कम होता था, बट
Hmm.
कॉमर्स वाज अनदर ऑप्शन. तो अगर अच्छे नंबर आए होते थे तो कई स्कूलों में तो खुद ही साइंस दिलवा दी जाती थी. तो आप साइंस लोगे ये पहले से डिफाइन हो जाता था. अब जब आप साइंस लोगे तो उसमें 2 करियर चॉइस थी, विच वाज अगेन अ वेरी सिंपल ऑप्शन. तो अगर मैथ्स अच्छी है तो इंजीनियर बना दो, अगर मैथ्स अच्छी नहीं है तो डॉक्टर बना सकते हो. बच्चा समझदार है, पढ़ने में होशियार है, तो 2 ऑप्शन होते थे. तो इंसिडेंटली माई मैथ्स वॉज गुड,
Hmm.
so the career option that I got was engineering. So it was pretty well defined. Engineering हुई. Engineering के बाद I did my engineering in early 2000, and that point in time there was a sort of almost that point in time we had this dot-com burst.
Hmm.
So not a lot of people got a very good job. And so, we felt that, there is something that we need to do maybe for a couple of more years, study more. And then MBA was an obvious choice because that's what the trend that point in time was. But to be very frank, MBA was introduced to me by uh, advertisement in a newspaper that came in from Indian Oil, I think.
Okay.
And that is what prompted me to do an MBA rather than something like an MTech or
Achha.
some other studies that we talk about. And it's a very interesting one, I must share with you. So while I was in my second year of engineering, सो इंजीनियरिंग में क्या होता है कि सेकंड ईयर से ही चालू हो जाता है कि नौकरी कहाँ करनी है, कितने की लगेगी, क्या होता है. तो वी स्टार्टेड एक्सप्लोरिंग सम marketing advertisements like job roles which are coming in newspapers. So newspaper लगा लिए थे तब तक. तो एक दिन एक इंडियन ऑयल का एडवर्टाइजमेंट आया, उसमें लिखा हुआ था कि ग्रेजुएट इंजीनियर ट्रेनी सम 20,000 रुपीज़ or something like that. I don't remember the exact figures. और मैनेजमेंट ट्रेनी used to get some 5,000 extra.
Okay.
So I said ग्रेजुएट इंजीनियर ट्रेनिंग तो समझ में आता है, ये मैनेजमेंट ट्रेनिंग क्या होता है. तो मैनेजमेंट ट्रेनिंग का पता चला कि कुछ लोग मैनेजमेंट की डिग्री कर लेते हैं, उनको मैनेजमेंट ट्रेनिंग इंडक्ट किया जाता है. आई थॉट यार 5,000 रुपये एक्स्ट्रा मिलते हैं एक महीने के, दिस मस्ट बी अ वंडरफुल थिंग. सो दैट इज़ वॉट attracted me towards management. And when the choice was supposed to be made for doing a post graduation, I think this came as an obvious choice. So that's how I did my MBA. After MBA, then job is an obvious thing. So I got into a job, and post that I changed my profiles. Most of my career I was with sales and marketing, and then this happened. IHFC, I have Foundation for Robotics, and here I am.
Wonderful journey. So आपने maybe a bit more about your career. So you started with Airtel or you?
So first job that I landed with was a company called V Customer.
Achha.
That was a third party BPO. So in early 2000 India market, BPO was coming up like fad. So a lot of jobs opening up in this sector, and V Customer was a high end, high tech sort of a BPO, and they had some good clients including HP, Compaq. They used to be different companies at point in time, and they came for campus recruitment at IIT Delhi, where I did my MBA from, and I got selected. So good thing was that I was given a team leader profile from the very beginning.
Okay.
So I had a team to handle, and I was a fresher, so I must say a very great exposure. But the not such a good thing was that it used to be not day shift. So we used to work a lot of times in the night shift, 9 to 6, 9 o'clock, 9 p.m. to 6 a.m. And sometimes depending upon the requirement, from maybe 4 p.m. to 2 a.m. or 3 a.m., something like that. So that continued for almost 1.5 years. But then a lot of pressure from the family and friends around, saying that what is this life that you are living, completely opposite of the general public. So I decided to look out and got a job at Airtel. So Airtel I spent a lot of time, almost 12 years with Airtel, and then I moved to a company called IndiaMart. So IndiaMart is a B2B marketplace. And again, I must say a very enriching and wonderful experience. But there was another opportunity that I was pursuing that point in time, which got fructified, and I moved to Samsung. So I was with Samsung for almost a couple of years, and then this opportunity came up. In fact, I was looking for a job, and there was an advertisement which was posted by the director of IIT Delhi, then director of IIT Delhi, Professor Ram Gopal Rao, and a good friend of mine from my MBA days, rather from my same batch. So he forwarded this opportunity to me, and said that why don't you try and explore this? You are anyways trying to look out for something different. So I I read the opportunities were very different role as compared to what I was doing.
In corporate.
So sales and marketing, this was absolutely technology oriented, creating something from research. Research was like very far off from what I have been doing in my life. And also it talked about a lot of things which I felt might be, might require a gray haired person, much older as compared to, what I was. But then I thought, what's the harm in giving it a try? And my friend also, he was like, why don't you do it, yeah? And uh, what's the harm in giving it a shot? So I went for that. Uh, was interviewed a couple of rounds, and then I was called, and I was told that would you like to join? And I said, why not? So that's how the journey started, and I think it will be 5 years
5 years now.
in a couple of months.
Okay, wonderful, great journey. So, how different is the corporate life, and now you're working with research and development, technology? How different it is?
See, the perspective is different.
Acha.
So when you are working for a corporate world, the primary motive is profit,
Oh.
right? And the way all organization structure or entire organization, people, infra, everything, it's aligned towards is making profit.
Making profits.
That's how it is, right? And you are somewhere a small cog in the wheel, which is supposed to do your job to ensure that the company is making profit, right? Whether you're part of sales and marketing, or setting up processes, or doing HR job, or whatever you want to call it, right? Here, I think this is more purpose driven, wherein government of India, which is typically, the future looking sort of an organization for the country, is trying to build something to change the DNA of the country itself. When we are talking about translating research, it's not a finite kind of a job. It requires a lot of innovation, a lot of adaptation, a lot of initiatives to be taken to ensure that the culture changes, right? Because the gap I mentioned about the kind of ranking that we have in terms of research papers and publications, and the kind of ranking that we have in terms of translation, it requires a cultural change. People need to start looking at research not only from the point of view of having something achieved, or a new technology being developed, or a new use case being tested with that technology, but to see that that technology sees light of the day in the market too. I should feel satisfied with not the technology getting developed as a researcher, but my technology getting used by an individual and making a change in his or her life. So I think when we talk about this, so that's a core difference, I must say. So this is something which is purpose driven, while the earlier stints were mostly oriented towards organization driving profit. So while a lot of things, enrichment of population, individuals, customers, everything comes along, but I think the organizations or a corporate exists because they are supposed to make profit, right? So that's the primary motive, and everything comes along, right? That's how it is. So I think this is the major difference I would say is there between a corporate job and the job that I'm trying to do here. Also, I think in terms of empowerment, it since it is backed by Government of India, set up by Government of India, with a clearly defined mandate, prospects in place, so it makes it a lot more different as compared to a regular or a contemporary job.
So you were empowered completely in terms of budget, in terms of freedom.
So I would not say completely. Absolute power is something that corrupts. Government is also intelligent enough to not give you an absolute power. But I think as compared to other government projects which are which run as government vehicle, this the empowerment is much higher. So the kind of flexibility that this kind of a setup offers is much higher as compared to what a typical setup would have been had it been set up as a government vehicle. Also being housed at IIT Delhi or institute of similar stature, for other hubs I'm talking about here, it also gives you a lot of advantages. So it's an experiment, so to say, but one wherein they have invested, not only invested, I think they have given it quite a bit of a thought before creating this one. So a lot of things that empower us is that it has been set up by Government of India, so it itself is an authority. When we talk about few of the things, this is the country. This is the country looking forward to something. So that itself gives you a motive, empowerment, freedom to do initiatives, and also the way this mission has been crafted or defined, and the environment that has been offered to us to to run and to make things possible is also very, very unique and different. So I think that's what I would say. I think is something that is very, very unique and additional, about this initiative.
Great to hear. I am very sure how much our general public knows about it. मुझे पता नहीं कितने लोग छोटे शहरों में इसके बारे में जानते होंगे, but definitely there are a lot of aspirational people around us. So what is collaborative robotics? क्या है चीज़? Robotics everybody understand. अब software industry में भी robots होता है, hardware में भी robots होता है. When we talk about robotics, we like more like a humanoid or something working in the factories, right? So what is collaborative robotics?
The collaborative robotics as a technology domain or as a concept is something which talks about human and machines working together.
Okay.
Right. So the idea is that we don't want to displace jobs. That most of the people are scared of when they listen to robotics. And I must tell you that if robotics or cobotics, if it is executed in the right way, or in the way it is supposed to be, it can really do wonders. And I can share examples with you, right? Since the time I graduated and these technologies were not too much heard of, I would say, the ambition of humans has also increased quite a bit. So we don't talk about a robot cleaning something or helping you pick up a load or something like that. We talk about concepts like why not the minerals are extracted from planets other than Earth and then transported to Earth.
Totally futuristic, huh?
I mean, and some of these ideas, some of these concepts, you would start thinking that yeah, this is a good thing. Why can't we do that? This is a very bright idea. Why should we exploit only Earth? If we have the capability to extract minerals from something outside and transport it back to Earth, if we have some machines, some transport carriers who can bring those essential minerals, why not set up here? Or if we are talking about nuclear sites which are there considered hazardous for humankind, why should we not have some of these sites set up on different planet, right, wherein humans are not impacted? Now somebody is required to run these sites. So these are the concepts which exist, why some of these technologies can definitely be utilized. Or we are talking about something underwater where humans can't survive. See, there are a lot of things which a human cannot do. These kind of inventions, innovations, technologies, they are supposed to take care of those things. So if there is a dedicated effort made in this direction, then there is many things possible which we might not have thought of in a regular practice. So these are the things which are happening, and some of the very breakthrough technologies that we are trying to work upon. I'll talk about them, but I think from the general public's point of view, or so the target segment that you are talking about, I think that's the segment that we have been set up for.
Okay.
So innovation happens through people who innovates, and it is not business innovation we are talking about, it's technology innovation that we are talking about, and taking technology to a commercialization level. So for that, there are 4 mandates that we have received to make this enablement of translating research to something meaningful. So those mandates are, we are supposed to focus on research and development projects which are translational oriented, which requires a lot of people who are innovative, who have passion and zeal to translate their research to something meaningful. And it will not happen from somebody coming outside and taking that research to the market. I think the researcher, he or she is the best person to know what he or she has created. They are the first ones to make that happen in the market. So that kind of a zeal is required from this new generation which is coming up. Then we also support a lot of startups. So we incubate startups, we accelerate startups, we mentor them. So and some of them are doing a phenomenal job.
Okay.
So I would always say that some of these students who are technology savvy, who want to create a difference in people's lives, they should give this a shot. So that's another thing that we do. The third one is a lot of skill development programs. So starting from school level, graduation level, and even workforce, we do a lot of interventions with respect to some of these programs. And the idea is that these new technologies, we need to make this proliferate the entire population, right? We are a 140 crore country, and a lot of us, including me, we never heard of some of these technologies which are coming up today. Generative AI, definitive AI, and all these concepts. They are very new to this generation. So why should we not have the entire workforce, or at least a sizable amount of workforce, working on these technologies to take this country to the next level, wherein population is the biggest strength for us. So these are some of the programs that we do.
So Ashutosh, you were talking about the collaborative robotics. आपने उसके बारे में बताया, तो थोड़ा सा और टेक्नोलॉजी के बारे में बताइए, कहाँ पे यूज़ हो रही है एंड व्हाट काइंड ऑफ न्यू इनोवेशन विच इज़ कमिंग आउट, क्या नया आ रहा है? आपने कुछ एग्जांपल्स दिए कि कुछ स्टार्टअप बहुत अच्छा कर रहे हैं, तो व्हाट आर दोज टेक्नोलॉजी विच इज़ रियली कमिंग अप इन इंडिया स्पेसिफिकली?
So I'll talk about a technology which is being developed by a group of professors. One of them is from IIT Delhi, rather two of them, and then one from IIT Madras, one from IIT Kanpur. So that's a application of nanorobotics.
अच्छा.
And the application is that a nanorobot can be utilized to deliver a drug at the cancerous cell site. So it's a technology which is being developed to sort of cure cancer. So today you would have heard of some of the treatments which cancer patients undertake, and I've been told that they are very painful. But this particular technology, when a robot gets inside your blood vessel, carrying the drug which is required to be injected or to be pushed at a place wherein there is a cancerous cell, it can go inject the drug and come out of your body. So it will make the treatment much more simpler, is what we assume, more effective. And I understand that the painful process that people today undergo to eradicate this disease is going to be much more easier, right? So that's one which is being worked upon. I'll talk about another success story. We have a startup called BotLab Dynamics. They are into drones. I don't know if you have seen some of these drone shows during I remember during the Cricket World Cup closing ceremony, they were there. Then very recently this Ambani wedding which happened, so they were there too. In fact, they created a world record of swarming 5,500 drones together in that wedding itself. And that was a world record till a few months back, wherein there is a Chinese company which has broken this record by swarming 10,000 drones together. But this company is really doing great work. So while
this is incubated by IHFC.
So this is accelerated by IHFC, I would say, not incubated, because it was incubated earlier. It's an older organization that existed with the IIT Delhi, and IHFC is the one which accelerated this organization. And now they are into a lot of projects. They are doing a lot of projects with defense. They are doing a lot of projects with multiple applications of drones, which include surveillance, nano drones, micro drones, pyro drones, and a lot of applications that defense is offering them. They earn their money from these drone shows, the majority of it, and they have recently raised quite a bit of a funding. I think you can just Google this and figure out that which goes into the applications of this technology in defense area. So that's where they have received a lot of funding. So this is another one. There is another project that we are running wherein there is a EMG controlled prosthetic hand which is being developed. So a lot of amputees who do not have this forearm
Hmm.
can use that, and using your muscle power itself, this forearm can do the grasping and all that stuff, as if you haven't lost your arm at all. Moving forward, as a second stage in this same particular technology that is being developed, this would be controlled by not the muscle power but your brain. So, brain control interface is something which is getting introduced as a part of this. That's another one which is being worked upon. There is another one wherein there is a laryngoscope. So I don't know if a lot of people would be aware of it, because it's a very special, sort of a activity which happens, which is called intubation, wherein if you stop breathing, and some of these cases happen during COVID, and a lot of these cases happen on a day in day out basis, you have to be intubated, and because everybody's body contour is different, even this trachea and this entire system is different, there's a lot of intelligence which has to go into intubating an individual. So there is an AI application which has been developed, and a product intubator intubator which is being developed, which uses AI to do it right in the first instance itself. The doctors, they need to train themselves on intubation, and it is said that you need to do at least 200 intubations to achieve that kind of a desired accuracy that this device can offer you. So just imagine the kind of the number of lives this kind of a innovation can save, the kind of easy sort of an access that it enables the doctors to utilize this device and do this procedure. So this is another one that I can talk about a lot of them. So a lot of them happening around us.
बिल्कुल ऑपरेशन सिंदूर में काफी ड्रोन्स का यूज देखा, राइट? सो डिफेंस सर्विसेज में तो पूरा देश वो देख रहा था कि हाउ द ड्रोन्स वर बीइंग यूटिलाइज्ड नॉट ओनली बाय एनिमी बट आवर ओन कंट्री एज वेल.
A couple of our startups were also in fact deployed at the time of Operation Sindoor. Yes. So I cannot tell you the names, because it is classified. But the kind of activities they did, and the kind of involvement they were able to in, I think it makes us proud. So that's another one. So while these opportunities like Operation Sindoor, it is unfortunate that we had to be in a situation of war for some time, but when your country needed that, at least we could contribute, or some of the startups, some of the innovators who have been a part of the ecosystem, they were able to contribute to that, is something that makes us proud.
Definitely. And the use cases which you're sharing are really game changer, are definitely helpful for a lot of people around. काफी लोगों की help definitely मिलेगी. तो एग्रीकल्चर और मेडिकल, आप मेडिकल एग्जांपल दिया, एग्रीकल्चर में भी काफी यूज होगा.
So there is another project that we have in collaboration with Parachute, Marico Industries. So there is this product which is being developed wherein the picking of coconut from coconut trees can be done without manual intervention, or even by using drones. So this is another one which is being worked upon.
अभी रिसेंटली मैं मुंबई में था और मैं बचा हूँ कुछ मिलीमीटर से कोकोनट मेरे सर पे आके लगने वाला था, एंड आई वाज थिंकिंग एग्जैक्टली द सेम कि यार कोई तो ड्रोन लेके हाँ ऊपर से कोकोनट्स तोड़ो.
So this is being worked upon, and the Goa University is taking the lead in this one. But there are more organizations which are working together to make this happen. Because see, what we have seen, technology development is not a single person's job. There has to be a teamwork involved, and that's one of the biggest lesson I would like to give to those who are listening. See, you might be brilliant individually, right? And you might be able to do a lot of things. But when it comes to success, it does not happen without team. So that's an essential that we need to learn, imbibe as a part of what we do, how we do, and the way we are able to do it. So this is something that we should definitely pick up. We should learn how to be a part of a team, how to play that role that has been assigned to us to be a part of that team, instead of doing everything on your own. So what it does is two things. One, it improves the chances of success, right? And also it shortens the time, because you don't need to do everything on your own. When we talk about startups also, for example, so we always, typically look for two founders or co-founders, so to say, at least two. One who is excellent with technology, and the other one who is good with marketing and sales. So that's a combination we typically, try and look forward to, because what we feel is that it is not one person's
person.
job who can, just excel in what they are doing as a part of technology. It requires different skill set, different, sort of a approach, so different sort of, skills to make that happen. And if there is a team which can make that happen, and I'm not saying that, these two people themselves will be able to do it, but it's like a bare minimum sort of a combination which they can start with, and the chances of success will be higher. So as I mentioned, I think teamwork is very important, and most of our projects, in fact, even in research projects, this is what we have done. So when we come out with a call for proposal, we figure out, and it's open for everybody in the country. So all researchers, professors, students, they can apply as a part of that in case they are working on those domains that we come out with call for proposals for. And what we see is that there are times when more than one people will apply for a similar kind of a development, because problems are very common across the country, and it's a country, again, as I mentioned, 140 crore people. You would find two or three people thinking in the same way, and we are a part of the same society. While the geographies are different, the problems might be of different magnitude or different style, but still there is a lot of commonality amongst the problems also. So what we try and do is we see that some of these people, if they can work together, a lot of times these proposals come in wherein they're planning to develop something complementary. Right now, is because we have come out with a call for proposal, we have a view to that, but they individually sitting maybe in two different corners in the country, they might not be aware of the fact that this is somebody who is building a complementary technology which can help me scale up or help me achieve what I'm trying to do at a much faster pace. So this is where the kind of role this is the kind of role that hub typically can play. But we typically encourage students to come together, because what we have seen is that if you are friends, then the chances of you getting along with a common objective works much better, right? So there's another perk of being a friend, that if you and your friend think alike and you have a problem that you both feel needs to be addressed, please take a shot, go for a startup. Chances of success will be much higher if both of you have a very good chemistry with each other. It's like marriage, so if there is a good chemistry, then it works very well. The chances of success are very good.
So a lot of questions are coming to my mind, Ashutosh. तो जब आप बात कर रहे हैं IHFC की, so first of all, कैसा setup है? How you are spread across the India? You're talking about research and development. Are we celebrating success as well as failure?
Very good question, I must say. So, one, I don't call anything a failure. I always say that it's a learning that you had, right? And so either it is success or learning. So that's how I take it as. And when it comes to the way we are trying to spread ourselves and trying to bring this ethos to practice, we have taken a lot of initiatives. In fact, last year itself, we have set up 10 co-innovation centers. So all these activities that we are doing, which is research and development, translational oriented, then startups, funding them, mentoring them, incubating them, accelerating them, then skill development programs. We felt that there's a need to spread ourselves in some of the institutes or places wherein like-minded people are there who want to do a similar thing, but because of the absence of processes or maybe an exposure to this kind of an initiative, have not been able to move at that faster pace, right? And with that in mind, we came out with this concept of co-innovation centers. And here again, Sandeep, I would like to mention that the word co-innovation was coined because of the same thing, because we want to be equal partner with them, right? It has to be a teamwork. It cannot be like we have set up an innovation center. It's not like our job or our success. It has
Yeah.
to be a joint success.
Joint success.
And that's the name Co-Innovation Center. So these institutes, and there are 10 now, 10 Co-Innovation
Okay.
Centers in place in equal number of institutes in the country. And I can name them. So we have one in Thapar Institute of Patiala, one in Triple IT Delhi, one about to be set up in DTU Delhi,
Okay.
one in IIT Gandhinagar, one in IIST Shivpur, which is close to Kolkata, two in Bangalore, PES University and Nitte Meenakshi Institute of Technology. One is SRM University in Chennai, and BS Abdur Rahman Crescent Institute of Technology in Chennai again, and one in Coimbatore, Karunya Institute of Technology. So these 10 institutes wherein we have tried to take our processes and see that we are able to identify some of these innovators from some of these places as well, right? So when we typically come out with a call for proposal, we try and propagate it, promote it, market it to whatever extent we can do through social media, through our connects. But having some of these centers and some of these teams working amongst those innovators which we are trying to vie for, look out for, helping us make that happen is something which can amplify or magnify the kind of effort that we are putting in, right? So with that objective in mind, we have set up these co-innovation centers, and I would like to encourage all those who are listening to this podcast that they should try and see if they can reach out to some of them if they are aware of some of these institutes and they have some connects with these institutes. Otherwise, they can write to us, and we can ensure that some of these programs they can be a part of. And the concept of co-innovation center was earlier not to have all these things in place. The earlier concept was to have to have, or rather to promote, a very special program that we have, and it's targeted on the recent graduates, or if you are in the final year of graduation. So it's a 3-year window that we typically target, because there we feel is the highest chance of innovation or to make something happen. So this READY program, which stands for Research and Entrepreneurship Development for You, is targeted on these students who fall in this bracket of 3 years, and they can apply for this. So what they need to have is an idea with respect to technology development. We evaluate that. If it is worthwhile, we give them a stipend for 6 months, and also support the prototyping of their idea or this technology that they are supposed to build. So this is what we feel is going to build that next level of startups, especially in technology. And nurturing them from the very beginning is something that we all believe in, and that's the reason this program is something that we started with. But when we went out, we spoke to these institutes, we felt that there is much more that we can leverage from them, because they have a large ecosystem of their own, and they can play an important role in taking something forward that we believe in, that government of India has set us up for. So this is something that we did, and I think I would encourage everyone to get benefited out of it.
Definitely. So अशु, आपने बताया इसके बारे में, तो कौन से स्ट्रीम से ये ग्रेजुएट्स को प्रेफर करते हैं? It necessarily needs to be BTech and BEs or particular colleges coming out? क्या?
So as I mentioned that the technology domain that we work in, it focuses on robotics, AI, machine learning, IoT. So it is a very interdisciplinary approach, right? So a mechanical engineer, or an electronics or electrical engineer, or a computer science engineer, and by the way, I must tell you, even civil engineers, they apply for this, because the kind of things that they learned as a part of their engineering, and this desire to innovate, I think it cuts across multiple branches. And the second and most important thing is that it's not an individual who makes that difference. I think we need those teams which are interdisciplinary in nature, because a robot cannot work only or cannot be created only by a mechanical engineer. There has to be an artificial intelligence put into it. There has to be some system development that has to happen. There has to be some electronic circuits which are supposed to be embedded as a part of that. So any application or robotic application or any of these technologies, it cannot happen by a single discipline. In fact, I am a firm propagator of a fact that the engineering branches that earlier we used to have, that civil, mechanical, electronics, computer science. We need to have this interdisciplinary approach that has to come in terms of creating this manpower as well as a part of this education ecosystem. So I think to your question, I think it can be any stream. They should have the willingness to experiment, to innovate, to make a difference. I think all of them are welcome. We do not discriminate between different
different branches
at all, and it has to be a technology, an idea that should be meaningful for them, meaningful for the society once it fructifies into something as a product. In fact, I'll talk about one of such student who is working on AI glasses.
Sure.
So what it does is that it can read any language and translate it to you in a language which you understand. It has a lot more features. It can be utilized by some specially abled people, as well as some of us normal people, right? So, for example, I was visiting Chennai last week, and I do not understand Tamil. Now, if I have to read a signboard, I cannot read that signboard because I am not well versed with Tamil. And a lot of people, they know how to speak, but they don't know how to read. But if you have to read a sign, if you have to read the directions, or what is written on a shop signboard, or what is written on some of the flyovers, you cannot read that. So some of the places you will find Tamil accompanied with Hindi or Tamil accompanied with English, but it's not a fact for a lot of them, rather most of them. And this is just one language that I'm talking about. Now, if you have this capability of having a glass which can help you, which you can wear easily, which helps you identify what is written in the language which you are conversant with, I think that's a game changer.
Absolutely.
Right? In fact, he's also trying to build some features which can allow or which can make this device to talk to a person as well. So if there is a person who is not able to see, if he uses that glasses, that can detect what is there in front, it can translate and then speak in the language that is preferred by the wearer. So some of these innovations, they really make you come alive, because they are the real problems that you face in a day-to-day life. And if once they are successful, this will be a game changer.
So Ashok, when you interact with a lot of young people, आप काफी लोग से मिलते रहते होंगे, तो क्या challenges face कर रहे हैं बच्चे, मतलब newcomers, generation which are getting into startup, research and development? What do you feel? Where we are lacking? Where the kids are lacking?
So before I start on what they are lacking, I must first tell you what they have better as compared to what we were in their age, and that's what excites me more, because when I compare myself when I was their age, I think they are much more mature as compared to what I was, right? They are much they are much more well versed with what is happening around them. I think, again, courtesy maybe technology. When we were there, we didn't have Googles and some of these search engines which are it's like the
information fingertip,
the information warehouse, right? And even this Gen AI now, you don't even have to search for what you are looking forward to as an answer. It gives you an answer automatically. So some of these technologies were not there, but again, from that perspective as well, and from the perspective of maturity as well, when I talk to them, they are much more confident as to what they would want to do. They have their opinion much more than what we at our ages were. Also, I think one more thing which we feel has changed for this generation is that there is higher amount of security which is there, maybe backing from the parents, and that's very important, because for a startup journey or for a research translational journey, time is of essence and patience is of essence. If you are not backed by the family ecosystem, if you're not backed by some of your good friends and motivators, it becomes very, very difficult. And I'll tell you, technology innovation is a step ahead in terms of these requirements as compared to business innovations, because for technology to develop and then to get fructified into something meaningful or commercial, it takes much more time as compared to a non-technology kind of innovation. So this is very important, and this factor is something which is improving. So this is a welcome change, I would say. Now coming on to the lack of things, I would not call them lack of things. I would call them something uh, that they need to just pick up. They just need to access and learn quickly as fast as possible, because the way we have grown in the past 5 years in terms of mentorship ecosystem of startups, which has enabled startup numbers to grow from 10,000 to almost 2 lakh, which is getting touched now. The mindset of these researchers to see that the technology which is there in the wardrobe or in my lab can see light of the day, all these things have improved in the last 5 or 10 years, and there are a lot of factors that we should give this credit to. But this generation is very, very different. And but what they need to grow at the same time is to build this patience, perseverance, right, to pursue something with dedication, passion, and make that happen. At the same time, flexible to accept the inputs, flexible to talk to relevant people who can make this journey much more easier, interesting, and quicker for them. So that is something that they should keep on looking out, and we try and be one such entity who can make this happen for some of these people.
So आशुतोष, आप कैसे सजेस्ट कर रहे हैं कि सभी को अब स्टार्टअप करना चाहिए, जॉब की तरफ ना जाए?
नहीं, मैं ऐसा बिल्कुल नहीं बोल रहा हूँ. आई थिंक देयर हैज़ टू बी अ फाइन बैलेंस इन द सोसाइटी एज वेल. सो अगर आप कल बोलोगे कि हर बंदा एक ही जॉब कर रहा है, दैट इज ऑल्सो नॉट पॉसिबल. देयर हैज़ टू बी अ बैलेंस इन द सोसाइटी. सो वाइल startups have become very sort of a talk of the town nowadays, a lot of people get attracted towards it, but it has its own set of benefits as well as negatives. So benefits, when we talk about,
Sure.
it offers you a lot of money sometimes if you are lucky and successful. It offers you a lot of satisfaction, because you have been able to make something and create that impact. But at the same time, not every startup is successful too. So I think there are flip sides too, and there have been a lot of instances wherein people have done jobs, moved to startup, doing job again, did startups, doing job again, right? Or got into startup to start with, then doing job, right? So it's not something that I'm prescribing for everyone, and the conditions are also different. The requirements are also different. A lot of things that you can do as a part of the job as well, wherein if you feel that you have not reached that threshold to take that amount of risk to start a startup, you can take some time and do a job. But I think one thing that I would like to definitely mention here is that whether you are in startup or whether you're in a job, you should be passionate about what you are doing, right? If you are able to do that, if you are to generate that passion in whatever you're trying to do, I think you will excel in either of them. That's one. Also, if you are passionate, if you want to make your deliverables excellent, I think it'll go a long way in terms of rewarding you, whether it is in the form of money, whether it is in the form of satisfaction, or whether it is in the form of you changing from a job to a startup or startup to a job and then becoming successful. So these things are not, I would say, mutually exclusive. We have seen a lot of success stories wherein people after doing their job are doing successful startups, and there are a lot of success stories wherein people having a failed startup and then doing a brilliant job. So these combinations exist,
Okay.
right? So I would say follow your passion, follow what your heart desires. Startup is one of the options, but jobs are here to stay, and they help you learn, they help you grow in more than more ways than one.
अच्छा आशुतोष, आप बात कर रहे हैं पैशन की, परसिस्टेंस की, परसेवरेंस की, लेकिन देखिए मेरे उसमें एक्सपीरियंस में मैंने काफ़ी यंगस्टर्स के साथ काम किया जो छोटे शहरों गांव से आते हैं. ठीक है, माँ बाप एग्रीकल्चर में थे, बच्चों को पढ़ा लिया, इंजीनियर बन गया. अब उनके मन में कहीं ना कहीं है कि पैसा तो लेके आए, द वन मोर पी इज पैसा, राइट? तो वो perseverance जो वो चाहिए कल्चरल चेंज वो कैसे आएगा?
See here, this question is very important. Kitna paisa, right? So paisa, I always feel is one of the motivators, but it should not be the only motivator, right? And I'll again quote one of the examples as one of for one of the startup evaluation. I was visiting a place in Kerala called Polachi, and we met an innovator, which is doing really wonderful, job for his own, I would say, community, very, very renowned locally, because he's able to do a lot of things, and he's into agriculture. He's able to do a lot of things which typically best of the technologies will not be able to do because they are not able to reach there. But because of the know-how and the kind of brilliance that he has been able to make the difference in that community itself wherein he stays. Now, it does not mean that he's earning a lot of money, but he's really satisfied, right? So it's not only money that satisfies you. I think there are a lot of things that come along that are required to make you happy.
That can be counted as a success. So money is not the only factor for
Yes,
becoming
absolutely.
successful.
The way people acknowledge his contributions, it's a satisfaction in itself. So some of these things, I think they have to be kept in mind. And you talked about people coming in from tier 2 towns, tier 3 cities, or rural areas and all this.
It could be anywhere,
It
not
can
from the
be
major cities.
so I think it can be anywhere. But what you would need to see is that what is that you can contribute. So it's not only earning money, as I mentioned, at the beginning of our conversation, that the difference between corporate, which is about profits for the organization, you are aligned to that. It gives you a satisfaction to a certain extent, but at the same time, impact, that is also important and gives you a lot of satisfaction too. So we have to create that fine balance in terms of where do we stand uh, with respect to both these things. And it can be defined by the kind of background that you come from, socio-economic background. It can be it can be defined by the kind of ambitions that you have. It can be the kind of I would say satisfaction that you get from some of these things. A lot of people, they would like to be more renowned, less wealthy, and there are a set of people who would like to be more wealthy, but they are happy with lesser of a fame. So it's a choice that everyone has to make depending upon what they are cut out for. So I think it's important for everyone, and to especially this young generation and the kids who are graduating, to identify that critical juncture for themselves. The sooner they are able to do it, the easier it will be for them to reach their passion, their goal, whatever they are trying to achieve.
And this is a really important thing which you have just said. Really important. One more point coming to my mind, Ashutosh. So how we are as a country as compared to others. हम लोग कहाँ पर हैं? जब हम बात करें चाइना की बात करें या दूसरी कंट्रीज की बात करें, इनोवेशन इंडेक्स में या फिर इनोवेशन में कहाँ पे हम लोग?
Innovation, as I mentioned, we figure not even in top 30. So I think between 35 to 40 things, the stacks keep on moving, and we have a lot more countries, I think, and we are all aware of it, whether Western countries or some of these developed Asian countries, who from where we get most of our products, most of our goods. So they are very much evolved with respect to that. But I think the kind of changes that we have seen in the past few years, the things are changing. So the passion to contribute, the passion to do more for the country has improved. The kind of policies that even government has come out with, they have impacted quite a bit positively in this direction. The self-respect for our own country has improved in the past few years, and that's a very, very important thing that has changed. I always admire Japan as a country, and one thing I liked about that country always was that they are always passionate for their own products, their own things. For if there is something Japanese which is available, and there's something which is kept on the table of a similar quality or even sometimes a better quality which is coming from a different country, they would prefer a Japanese product, right? And this comes from the self-respect that they have for themselves, for their country. So I think this is something in terms of quotient, it has increased quite a bit in the past few years. That's what I have observed, and it is a very big contributor in terms of making some of these changes, some of these cultural changes to happen. So I think that's what I would have to say.
So what is your advice? आप youngsters को, kids को who are coming from schools, colleges, from jobs, क्या advice देना चाहेंगे आप? What is your leadership style? What is your leadership content? Startups के लिए आगे बढ़ने के लिए क्या suggestion है आपके?
So one thing, always be eager to learn.
Wonderful.
So life is a lifelong lesson. If you are eager to learn, you will do wonderfully well. Because life wants to teach you, right? If you are ready to learn, you will grow in life. If you're not ready to learn, or if you sometimes start feeling that I have reached the peak of what I could have done, or there's not anything else that I need to learn now, your growth will also stop. So I think this is just one thing if they can just remember and keep in mind. And learning is not like that school environment or some of these college degrees or some of your supervisors. It's not limited to that. It has to be from everyone around you. Whosoever you meet, try and pick up some good things that you feel can make a difference in what you are trying to achieve in your life. I think they'll be really great, and I'm sure you'll see the difference if you start doing that.
Sure. I don't know whether you remember or not. I definitely have an opportunity to work with you in April. So I remember one incident. We were sitting in a meeting room. There were a lot of heated discussions going on for, I believe, a project called New Product Incubation. You stood, you started speaking, and then everybody started listening. ये कुछ बोल रहा है, and they were the rooms with the CEOs, everybody said कि ये बंदा भी कुछ बोल रहा है, and this is what I also noted for the first time. Probably I just came to that particular office at that point of time. I said, okay, there's somebody is saying and somebody is giving some important information. So that is something you have demonstrated over the years. So वो क्या चीज़ है? Your learning curiosity.
No, that's one. And thank you for remembering the incidents. But see, I think one thing that I have learned, and I think I would give it to my parents, was that one, you don't speak if you don't know, right? That's one. And you should not stay quiet if you are knowledge or if you are aware of something. So both these things, if you are able to practice, and that is what I have been trying to do. So I think it makes you stand out, at least in a crowd, because there's something, if you are able to do well, so it'll help you be seen as somebody who's serious and who means job.
Wonderful. So Ashu, concluding message, anything which you want to talk about which will connect the youngsters to IHFC?
I think first of all, I would like everyone to go to www.ihfc.co.in. That is our website. Read about what we have been able to do. If there is something, there's a spark, that gets incited, write to us, contact@ihfc.co.in, and we'll see as to what best we can offer you to make your dreams possible.
Wonderful, Ashu. So I believe this session has been wonderful for everyone. I'm myself truly excited about, and what I'm trying to understand from you, that government of India is putting a lot of efforts into this. So this also gives me a lot of excitement for the future of the country, and definitely with the people, with the leaders like you, आप लोग हैं, so it becomes a lot of aspirational things for us. So it's a pleasure to have you today, Ashutosh.
Thank you so much for the opportunity, Sandeep. And if there are people that have been able to communicate something or make a difference, I'll be the happiest. So
Thanks a lot.